For years, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle believed they could control the narrative. They thought they could curate their image through glossy Netflix documentaries and staged interviews, keeping the darkest parts of their lives locked away. But there is one secret, one whispered rumor that has grown too loud to ignore. It's no longer about family fights or royal protocol. The question burning through social media and terrified palace corridors is much simpler and far more brutal. Who are Archie and Lilibet really? If the latest reports from insiders and biographers are true, we aren't just looking at a scandal. We are looking at a fraud that could shatter the line of succession forever. For a long time, the murmurs about how Archie and Lilibet were brought into the world were confined to the dark corners of the internet. It was considered tinfoil hat territory. But that changed the moment veteran investigative journalist Tom Bauer stepped into the ring. Bauer isn't a gossip columnist. He is a biographer known for unearthing uncomfortable facts that hold up in court. When he suggests that the narrative surrounding the Sussex children is built on a foundation of lies, people listen. According to the transcript of recent discussions surrounding his claims, the theory that surrogacy was involved has officially entered the mainstream media domain. This isn't just about privacy anymore. The accusation is that Harry and Meghan may have fundamentally deceived the public and perhaps the monarchy itself about the birth of their children. The allegation suggests that the of-the-body requirement for royal heirs might have been bypassed. If true, this implies that the birth announcements, the hospital details, and the entire timeline were part of a coordinated cover-up. And as we know with the royals, it's never the crime that destroys you. It's the cover-up. But just as the walls started closing in, Harry and Meghan realized they were powerless to stop it. You might wonder if these claims are false. Why haven't Harry and Meghan launched a massive lawsuit to shut it down? The answer lies in their bank account. Critics point out that the couple has effectively signed away their dignity for a paycheck. When they left the royal family, they cut off their primary funding and walked straight into the arms of corporate giants like Netflix and publishing houses. They need the money. And they need it now more than ever because the lifestyle they've built in Montecito burns through cash at an alarming rate. They are, in a sense, stuck with the devil they made a deal with. They traded their royal mystique for reality TV fame, and now they are reaping the consequences. They can't bite the hand that feeds them, and they can't afford to look like they are constantly at war with the media that keeps them relevant. This financial desperation has stripped them of their credibility. They are no longer viewed as humanitarian royals. They are seen as content creators who need drama to survive. But while they count their Netflix millions, the specific details of their past lives are starting to surface, and some of them are impossible to explain away. Let's look at the specific inconsistencies that have critics raising their eyebrows. The official story of Archie's birth at Portland Hospital has been riddled with contradictions from day one. In the transcript, experts point out that the description of the birth felt fabricated, leading many to believe that Meghan never intended to go to the hospital in the way it was reported. We know they misled the public about the birth time and the details surrounding the labor. Then there are the visual clues that internet sleuths have been compiling for years. The so-called moon bumps that seem to change size or position, the squatting in heels while heavily pregnant, and the lack of medical witnesses. In a normal situation, these would be dismissed as cruel gossip. But the Sussexes have a track record of twisting the truth. Buckingham Palace was even put in a position where they had to lie on their behalf regarding the birth announcements. When you combine the AI child theories with the very real secrecy, it paints a picture of a couple who treated the arrival of a royal heir as a covert military operation rather than a public celebration. And speaking of military operations, this pressure is taking a visible toll on the one person who used to pride himself on his toughness. Prince Harry was once the golden boy, the soldier, the joker, the relatable prince who overcame the tragedy of his mother's death. But look at him now. The man described in recent reports is not intelligent, strategic, or calm. He is damaged. Insiders suggest that Harry is undoubtedly still traumatized by Diana's death, but he has twisted that pain into a weapon. He foolishly blames the media for everything, refusing to take accountability for his own choices. Reports from Montecito paint a harrowing picture of a man spiraling. Harry is allegedly glued to his phone, doom-scrolling through comments, obsessing over the criticism and pacing the halls in a state of paranoia. He loved the adulation when he was a soldier. but he possesses zero coping mechanisms for the criticism he faces now. He feels targeted, believing he is the victim of a grand conspiracy, yet he fails to see that he is the architect of his own misery. The irony is tragic. The man who preaches about mental health appears to be the one struggling the most, seemingly trapped in a cycle of anger and suspicion that is eating him alive. The tragedy of Harry's unraveling isn't just internal, it's social. One of the most heartbreaking details to emerge from the recent reports is the complete collapse of his inner circle. We aren't just talking about royal courtiers here. We are talking about the band of brothers he served with. The transcript reveals that many of his old military friends, the men who respected him for his courage on the battlefield, have stepped back in disgust. They reportedly no longer recognize the man who once led them. And this isolation wasn't accidental. It appears to be by design. Tom Bower claims that Meghan effectively placed a fatwa on Harry's old life, forbidding friends and associates from speaking to journalists or biographers. By cutting off the people who knew Harry before the fame, the couple has created an echo chamber where no one is left to challenge their version of reality. Harry is now surrounded only by people on the payroll or new Hollywood friends who view him as a commodity. When you strip a man of his history, his family, and his oldest friends, you leave him completely vulnerable. And that is exactly where critics say he is right now, isolated, paranoid, and entirely dependent on the one person who orchestrated the cut. While Harry spirals, Meghan is handling the crisis with a chillingly different approach. If Harry is the fire exploding with emotion, Meghan is the ice. Reports indicate she has adopted a cold, calculated strategy. There are no public breakdowns for her. Instead, she is reportedly leaning heavily on legal threats, cease and desist letters, and a curated silence. She wants to control the narrative by force. However, this strategy is backfiring. By aggressively trying to silence the questions about the children, she is inadvertently making the whispers louder. It's the Streisand effect. In full force, the more you try to hide something, the more people want to find it. Critics argue that her motive has always been clear. She is obsessed with money and status. The disappointment that Harry wasn't worth billions has allegedly forced her to scramble, securing deals and winning the PR game at all costs. But you can't lawyer your way out of a biological reality. While she tries to intimidate her critics, the institution she attacked is doing something far more damaging: absolutely nothing. To really understand why the palace is so suspicious of the children's lineage, we have to look at the very beginning of the relationship. The official narrative is a blind date whirlwind romance, but the research suggests something far more calculated. According to Bower's findings, Meghan was actively hunting for a wealthy English man as far back as 2013, long before she met Harry. The transcript describes her as money-obsessed, seeking fame and status after her career in Canada hit a ceiling. She didn't stumble into royalty. She targeted it. This context changes how we view the children. If the marriage was, in the eyes of critics, a strategic business acquisition to secure global fame, then Archie and Lilibet are the ultimate insurance policies. They are the permanent link to the bloodline that keeps the cameras rolling and the deals signed. This is why the ambiguity around their births feels so sinister to royal watchers. If the entire relationship was built on a foundation of strategic climbing rather than genuine connection, why would we expect the birth of the children to be any less manipulated? The most telling reaction to this entire scandal isn't what is being said, but what isn't. The silence from Buckingham Palace is deafening. Think about the contrast. We constantly see Prince William and Catherine's children. They are photographed with the king, they are present at events, and their lineage is a matter of public record and celebration. They are woven into the fabric of the firm. In stark contrast, Archie and Lilibet are ghosts. There are no warm photos with King Charles. There are no anecdotes from staff about the kids running around the palace halls. Some believe this distance is a protective measure by the palace, a gray rocking technique to keep the drama at arm's length. But a darker theory suggests the royals know or suspect the truth about the surrogacy rumors. By keeping the Sussex children away, they are protecting the line of succession from a constitutional disaster. If the palace firmly believed everything was above board, a simple statement or a unified family photo would end the rumors instantly. Their refusal to provide that support speaks volumes. This brings us to the core of the issue. The crown relies on bloodlines. It is not just a family, it is a legal institution. The rules are archaic, but strict to be in the line of succession. A child must be born of the body to a royal wife. If surrogacy was used, or if donor genetic material was involved without the proper protocols, Archie and Lilibet would technically be ineligible for their titles and their place in the line. This is why the scandal matters. It's not just about hating Meghan or pitying Harry, it's about the integrity of the monarchy. If Harry and Meghan knowingly bypassed these laws and lied to the Queen and the public, it constitutes a betrayal of the highest order. It explains why the discussion about removing their titles is gaining momentum. It's not just petty revenge, it's a necessary legal cleanup. The palace cannot afford to have illegitimate heirs in the line of succession, and the longer this ambiguity lasts, the more unstable the foundation becomes. We have reached a breaking point. The public, the media, and even former fans are demanding the one thing that could end this today: a DNA test. It sounds intrusive, but Harry and Meghan opened the door to this scrutiny when they made their children the centerpiece of their victim narrative while simultaneously hiding them. The calls for proof are flooding social media. If Meghan carried those children and they are biologically Harry's, a simple test silences the haters forever. It would be the ultimate victory for them, but they refuse. They hide behind claims of privacy, the same privacy they sell to the highest bidder. This refusal is being interpreted as an admission of guilt. Why hide the truth if it's on your side? The public isn't buying the privacy excuse anymore. They want receipts. And until those receipts are shown, the label of liar is going to stick to the Sussex brand like glue. Harry and Meghan are standing on a precipice. They gambled everything on their ability to charm the world, but they forgot that trust is built on truth. Harry, who tried to build his redemption arc around being a father, now faces the humiliating possibility that his fatherhood is being questioned on a global stage. The tragedy is that this was likely avoidable. If they had been honest, even if they had used a surrogate and admitted it, the public might have evolved with them. But the deception is the unforgivable sin. Now they are left with a binary choice. They can submit to a DNA test, prove the lineage, and restore a fraction of their dignity. Or they can continue this game of silence and shadows, ensuring that Archie and Lilibet grow up under a cloud of suspicion that will never lift. The palace is watching, the public is waiting, and the clock is ticking. What do you think? Is the silence an admission of guilt or just another bad PR move? Let me know in the comments.